Hey, it's New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in the Tower District in Fresno. Good to see you today, and I'm glad to be here. It's a great day. But every day is a great day when you make that your intention first thing in the morning. And that's something I do every morning. We'll talk a little bit more about that later today. But I wanted to open up today. I talked to a young man earlier in the week, and he was asking me about spirituality. He self-defines himself as a millennial, so you kind of get an idea of the generation that I'm talking about. And we were talking about spirituality, and he said, well, he really didn't buy into all the religious stuff, but yet he felt some kind of inner connection, urge, drive, if you will, to be a spiritual being himself, a spiritual person. And we got to talking about it. And, you know, although he may be a millennial, I don't think that is so unique to him or to a generation. There's a lot of people today that are out there that, you know, they just, what has gone before doesn't resonate with them. They don't feel a connectedness with it. There's not a spiritualness to it for them. It's more like a list of rules and regulations and dogmas, creeds that they got to follow, and they have a hard time with it, and so therefore they tend to reject it. And oftentimes that leaves them kind of out there trying to figure out for themselves how to make that spiritual connection. You know, where do they go? Where do we turn? What do we do? And that's one of the purposes of me taking time each Saturday that I come on the show here and talk about New Thought. It is not the only spiritual choice that's available to people, but for people that are searching, it may be a choice that they may want to take time and investigate. And who knows, you may find it resonates with you. The idea of God being an ever-present presence, an ever-present knowingness, an ever-present power, that no matter where we're at, God is always there, Spirit. As a matter of fact, I've said many times on the show, we use the name God, but that's only a name that we use because it's been traditional. In actuality, that which is the creative force and source and all that is behind the universe, it'll answer to anything as long as we direct it to that from within ourselves, because it is within ourselves where we have that connectedness with God, where we speak to God. We don't speak to a God outside of ourselves. There's nothing outside of ourselves that will hear for us when we go to prayer. It all takes place within us. You know, in actuality, as we've said on the show many times also, that we are God expressed as us. You know, the gift of life is God's gift to us, but God expresses through the life that we live. And our gift back to God is our ability to live that life as fully as we can. But you know, we get kind of caught up in the stuff, growing up and all the things that society and families and school and friends and jobs and everything brings into our life, and it gets kind of hectic. And in recent past, say in the past, maybe 2 generations, there hasn't been a great emphasis within society on a spiritual life. I mean, there's segments. You know, we all hear about small segments or big churches, but there's just not a whole lot in the day-to-day life experience that people run into that bespeaks to a concept, a consciousness of a spiritual life and spiritual lifestyle. So there we are. We're out there. We're looking. And that story's not too different from where I was quite a few years ago, and maybe that's where you're at today. And if you've transcended that and moved beyond that, stick around. We got things we're going to talk about that I think you'll find of interest also. You know, the idea of a power and presence. And Ernest Holmes used to open his TV and his radio shows with the words that there's a power and a presence for good in the universe that is available to each and every one of us, providing we open ourselves up to it. And it's available to us not because it will come to us when we call, but it's available to us always. As a matter of fact, we always use it. We just use it most of the time in an unconscious way. Because you see, it responds to us, to our thoughts, to our beliefs, to the trend of thinking, to the way that we feel about things. And then it mirrors back to us as our life experience those things. What we expect to happen is what we're going to see happen. So if we have an uplifting inner expectation of good, we're going to experience good in our life. Now, that doesn't mean that all that life brings to us is going to be, fun and games, because life does come at us at the speed of life. There are things that happen. There's emergencies, there's tragedies, there's accidents, and the list is infinite. But in all of that, we are the center of our experience, and we can control how it is that we experience those things. As a matter of fact, we can even seek to find the good in whatever experience it is that we have, no matter how sad or tragic we may judge that to be. And when we get to that point, when we get to that understanding that there's good to be found in everything, because in everything is still God expressing, it changes our outlook on life. And again, as we change our outlook on life, then what we experience in life changes also. So as I was talking to this young man, and we were talking about it, he said, well, I don't believe in this God that's, and I said, yeah, I get that. But does it really make any difference what you call God? And does it make any difference how you define that, if you have an understanding or a belief that there's something? And we can start there. There's something. And we don't have to define that in details and specific. Let's just recognize that there's something. And that something is the creative energy, or the source behind all that is, or provides energy for all that is. And in many ways, we're seeing that concept kind of unfolding in modern-day quantum physics. But that's a talk for another day. Let's just make the assumption for today that there's something behind all that is. And if there is something behind all that is, then all that is a representation, a creation of that something. It can't be separate from it. So it's not like there's something and then creation. There's just the something of which creation exists within it. That's kind of an interesting concept, isn't it? There's just something, we can call it God, and all creation exists within this. And if we look at life from that perspective, if we look at our life from that perspective, then our life is, in fact, God expressing as us. That we are not separate from life, we are not segregated from life, but we are an individualized aspect of a greater unity, a greater oneness, a greater wholeness. And basically through all of spiritual history of humankind, the idea of a spiritual oneness has been there in some kind of a subtext. Not always explicitly, but sometimes it's in the background, and sometimes it's in the foreground, but it's been there. Going back to the idea of this idea, and the idea of sacrificing to a God goes back, millennium. And the purpose behind that is that we take something that has life energy and we give it up to God because God needs it. But if God is the life energy of all, then it kind of negates that, doesn't it? But yet you can see how in early humanity there was in mind the idea that there was God and there was life, and God and life somehow were connected. And maybe they didn't get it straight to begin with, and maybe it took millions of years or thousands of years or tens of thousands of years and many spiritual leaders to slowly get to a point to where at some point in time mankind began to say, okay, there's just one behind everything, and that one is the creator of everything. And if the one is the creator of everything, then everything is that one, and that means we're some part of it, and let's celebrate that. And that consciousness has been out there. So today, as we've gone through centuries of what I'll refer to lovingly, but as old thought, that has dogma, that has rules, that has various things that one must do in order to be recognized as being whole and complete within that particular spiritual practice. The idea that you are whole, perfect, and complete to begin with, here and now, that there's nothing that you can do that can ever separate yourself from that God, becomes a very liberating inner belief. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we do things that cause harm, and we can look at the history of humanity, and we see harm in so many ways throughout the history, and some of it's very tragic and very ugly. But the truth is that harm was created by people that saw themselves as separate from and not a part of the greater whole. At one time, we had kings and emperors and rulers, and they were separate from humanity because they were God gifted to their position. But that's not true. Had they had an understanding that they and their whole kingdom was still an expression of God, maybe they would have ruled differently. Maybe the fights that took place, the wars and stuff, may have not have happened had they had that understanding. And that's kind of esoteric history. But when we come down to today, living today in this life, isn't it great to be here today when we've got so much going on? And yet, how many of us go through the day and we complain about whether it be the local community, the family community, the governmental community, the world community, and we hear this constant barrage of complaints from seemingly everywhere we turn. That seems to conflict with the idea that there's nothing but God expressing us all this is, and yet there's all this discord. The truth is, there's so many people out there that see themselves as separate from God. This is what excites me about the idea of this, what we call New Thought religious science, or any of the other New Thought philosophies that are out there, and they're all pretty closely associated and linked in the philosophy. The idea that we're just one, and if we're just one with the greater good, the greater creator, and that we can interact with that on some level, that there's something within us that responds to us as we begin to move into this idea of this oneness and our ability to interact with it. And I'm looking at the clock, and I think I gotta take a break here, so I'm going to pick this up when we come back. The idea of interacting with that one thing that's within us, and yet it's everywhere present. I'll see you on the other side.
Come out this Saturday at 11 a.m. at Home Fundings Corporation's free home buying workshop, located at 191 West Shaw Avenue, Suite 204 in Fresno, California. Seats are limited, so call now and reserve your seat. Call 559-418-0794. Again, the number is 559-418-0794.
We've been thinking about this for a while on how we can really match up economic development and workforce development.
In order to have successful businesses, the businesses needed a successful workforce. And so the EDC and the DSS partnered together to put together training programs that are tailored to specific industries.
We need to have our clients be private sector focused, private sector ready, and better to learn that from the private sector than from the government.
This was a different idea, and this intrigued me. I've got 3 guys out in the field working, no problem at all with them, very good kids. I enjoy hiring people that need a second chance. The employees that work for us are our most important asset. That's why I have to have good employees. We need to all work together and try to figure out on how to do this, and that's why I like the program.
Help build the Reedley College Center for Fine and Performing Arts by making a donation at sccd.edu/donate. When you need a dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com. book Zach Krikorian, email zackyboy@mindspring.com or call 559-348-8080. You can also friend request Zach Krikorian at facebook.com/Zach.Krikorian. When you need a realtor, call Alice Brown Harris with Guarantee Real Estate. Call 626-893-7663. Connect with Dr. Alan Hedberg. Watch Doctor Teach Me to Parent on CentralValleyTalk.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Listen to The Psychology Report anytime at thepsychologyreport.buzzsprout.com. Visit booksbyhedberg.com and order a book for your personal growth. And join the conversation on twitter.com/Alan G. Hedberg. Choose your phone, not your carrier, with Wireless Connection Merced, located at 3144 G Street, Suite 145 in Merced, California. Wireless Connection sells new and used phones, offers cell phone repair, and will unlock phones from any carrier. Call 209-626-5554 or visit wirelessconnectionmerced.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in the Tower District in Fresno. That's if you'd like to join us on Sunday, I'll give a little plug right here for us. We meet at 10 o'clock for a meditation. It's a guided meditation. Then at 10:30 we meet for the Sunday lesson, and we can be found at the Fresno Soap Company at 1470 North Van Ness. Like to see you there if you feel like showing up. Anyway, our connectedness to God, our going to God, talking to God, and that can be found within ourselves. You know, we often refer to what this fellow we call the Master Jesus taught, and he taught some really incredible things. But he wasn't the only person that taught him. It just happens to be the one person that, as he taught, we have more of a record of the things that he taught. One of the things he taught is seek first the kingdom, and then he described that the kingdom can be found within us. So that's what we're to seek first, and it's to be found within us. That means that's where we got to go. So we start there. We go within. Well, how do we go within? I've heard ministers kind of chuckle and say, yeah, have you ever seen anybody really try to go within? And I get that, but we also understand what that means. It means finding a quiet place where we can quiet our mind and sit in silence and begin to focus on our inner beingness. And it's a skill, it's a practice for sure, but it's one that anybody can do, and you don't have to have a whole series of classes in order to do it. You just have to take the time. And there's a couple of basic things. As your mind begins to wander, just lovingly bring it back. And what do you bring it back to? You can bring it back to a thought of a word, whether that word be God or Spirit. It could be love, it could be goodness, a single word. Maybe you want to have your eyes open. You'll focus on something like a flame or a picture or something in front of you or a flower. But whatever it is, you want to bring your mind back and just allow it to focus on that point of reference, because after a while, all the static in the background begins to silence itself. And we open ourselves up. We open ourselves up, and we can begin to experience a different aspect of who we are. It's like facets on a jewel, a diamond, for example. We can see the big one on the top, and that's us and every day, but there's all those other little ones on the side, and if you go over the edge, there's those on the underneath side. But in order to get to those, we have to take time and begin to search them out. But there's so many facets to each and every one of us as created by this incredible infinite source of all goodness that we call God. And we can literally spend our whole life and beyond trying to seek out all the potential that we are and put it into practice in our life. And the thing is, we are potential, and we can put it into practice. I said in the first segment, our life is our gift from God, but the way we live life, our life is a gift from God, and the way we live our life is our gift back to God. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by beginning to take control and not being subject to what life throws at us. And it starts very easy when we begin to realize that there is something within us that we have ultimate control over, more control over it than anything else in our whole expression or experience, and that's our thoughts. And yet it's also one of the things that we have very little control over most of the time, because if we were used to just letting our thoughts tend to run wild. You know, we go through the day. They say that we actually think somewhere between 60 and 80,000 thoughts in a day. I don't know about you, but I can't remember even thinking that I think that many thoughts. And the truth be told, a lot of the thoughts that we think we're not even conscious of. They're in that part of our mind that we call the subconscious or subjective mind, but they're there nonetheless, and they're there as a result of inner belief systems that we've held, experiences that we've held, and our story. And we all have our story, and most of the time our story has got some good, it's got some so-so, and oftentimes, unfortunately, it's got a lot of not so good. And yet we let our story be the focuser, if you will, on how we live in each moment. You know, I'm in this moment and I'm struggling because my life's been a tough life. Well, it may be true that your life was a tough life, but does your life have to be tough in this moment? And the answer to that is no. Even if you're in a moment of struggle, even if you're in the moment of really having to put forth great effort, it doesn't have to be tough. It all depends on the attitude we bring to that moment, the attitude based on our inner beliefs. And if we come to understand that there's this power within us, this infinite power within us, that we are related to in such an intimate way that we cannot separate ourselves from it no matter what we do. And it's there as a resource. It's there as a resource in consciousness, and oftentimes it's a resource of energy. Sometimes it's even a resource of information at the exact point in time when we need it. But if we ignore it, it might as well not be there. And we go through life, most of us, ignoring it. There is that within us, though. You might say it's the seed planted by the divine creator, that as it grows, it's an urge for us to seek out our truth, the truth of who we are. Oftentimes we refer to New Thought as a truth teaching, not that we have the only truth, but we recognize that there's one ultimate truth. And in our spiritual path, our spiritual journey, is the uncovering of that one ultimate truth. And as we do that, we begin to see where our place is within the greater scheme of things, and we begin to see, too, that in the place that we are in the greater scheme of things, we're not powerless. There's a power and a presence for good in the universe that is available to us. And it's available in the most simple and yet difficult of ways. Simple in that all you have to do is change your thinking. Difficulty is, that's easier said than done for most of us. But it's not impossible. It is possible. You know, one of the other things that the master teacher taught is that with God all things are possible, and that's true. There have been people who have experienced all sorts of things in their lives. We'll call them troubles or problems or obstacles, whether it be in relationship or health or in business or just life in general. And yet somehow, some way, in a miraculous sort of way, there's been a transcendence in their life experience. Now, sometimes it happens just coincidentally, although I don't really believe in coincidence in the universe, but that's how we define it in our day-to-day life. But oftentimes it happens with intention. People begin to realize that they're not victims of life, that they're participants in life. And as a participant, you can begin to exert control over your act of participation. And as you exert this control, things change around you. And it's, you know, we've seen all sorts of movies and books that have been written on personal growth, positive experience, and all this sort of stuff. And they're all based in this one principle, that there's a power and a presence for good that's available to us. Now, they may not describe it in that way. We may call it the power of positive thinking, the power of good, the power of expectation, self-imagery. Maxwell Maltz, if you remember, or if you're familiar with him, who was a plastic surgeon, and he worked with people with terrible disfiguring things with their face, for example, and their lives were just very miserable as a result. And so he does surgery on them and corrects whatever problems that they had that they felt were holding them back. And he found rather interestingly, that there was two types of results. One was no change at all in the lifestyle of the person. The other was a miraculous change. But the ones in the miraculous change, he found that they had an expectation and intention that it was going to be, and it was. And the ones that there was no change, he found that their self-image, that which cannot be defined by what we see in the mirror, but that which is defined, which exists within us, didn't change with what happened in the mirror. The mirror changed, but the inner self-image didn't change. And he got curious, and he began to study. And there's a whole field called psycho-cybernetics that's based on his findings. But basically what that's about is that you can, by changing how you believe, how you think, you can begin to change your life experience. You change your expectations of life, and life will answer your expectations. You know, people that feel life's tough, they always seem to have a tough life. And people that feel that life's good always seem to have a good life. Even if they have struggles at some time, they can see the good in the struggles. It might be a lesson learned or something achieved or who knows what, but there's always that good outcome, and no matter what they do. And it's just a matter of what their inner expectation was. And that's available to you also, just like it's available to anybody else when you begin to realize that. And this was the beauty of New Thought and religious science in particular when Ernest Holmes began to teach it. It wasn't real common at the time, the idea of the power of positive thinking. And that's pretty pervasive in society today. The idea that many of the New Thought teachings and principles have made it into the so-called secular world because there are things that work. There's principles that work when you put them into your life. But you got to make the effort. And that's part of what we teach in this philosophy is you have to make the effort. You can't sit on the couch and wait for it to come. You can't write down your goals, put them on a shelf, and hope that they're going to show up. When you begin to make a choice and decision, when you begin to decide to do something, you have to follow through with some kind of an action step. And so we talk about that in New Thought. We teach about it in New Thought. And we see it unfold in people's lives. We see health issues that are resolved, relationship issues which go away, good which has up to that point had maybe been absent from somebody's life, is all of a sudden it has filled into that person's life in ways that they had no idea until they begin to change how they saw and looked at life. And you can do the same thing. You know, Ernest Holmes, this is from the Science of Mind book, he says, "The world is all right when we view it correctly. Who knows what would transpire if all men would seek truth?" And that's all men and women. Given that it was written in 1938, we'll take the context to mean non-gender. "It has never been yet tried, but let not the mouth of the profane hinder those who would enter, thereby keeping them from entering. The world has never yet followed the simple ethics of Jesus, yet it is loud in its proclamation that it is Christian. This statement is not written in the spirit of controversy. It is one of conviction and will make its appeal only to those who are convinced. For a man convinced against his will remains unconvinced still." What he was addressing back in 1938 when he wrote this book is that there are people that profess a belief in a loving spiritual way and yet don't follow that through with action in their life. And our actions do speak louder than our words. It was Emerson that said, "I cannot hear you. I cannot hear your words, for your actions speak so loudly." And, you know, where are we at? If you believe in good and you act in ways less than good, where's your belief really lie? There's power in belief, power that beyond our ability to understand, but it's not beyond our ability to put into practice and use. I mean, there's power in electricity, and we use it all the time. We don't have to understand how it is. You know, it drives industries. There's power in gasoline motors. You don't have to be a mechanic to get in your car. And nowadays, a computer expert to get in your car and to use all the wonderful things that are there. It's a little bit of electricity, a little bit of mechanics, and who knows what all. But it's all there, and you don't have to be an expert. All you have to do is make the choice to use it. You have to learn a few simple things like how to drive and how to maintain an automobile, but that's it. The same way with your spiritual life. You don't have to have an understanding of all the great principles, the underworkings of that, But you do have to understand that they work for you. And then you have to consciously put them into practice in order to utilize them consciously. You can utilize them unconsciously, and you do. And I'll talk about that when we come back, because it's time, I think, for our next break. So I'll see you when we get back. We'll talk about using it unconsciously.
See more original artwork by Francisco Rodriguez on Instagram at Francisco_illustrations and at the Fresno Art Hub at 2024 North Van Ness Boulevard. Hardworking, experienced, and capable. With a record of success over more than 2 decades, the law office of Kevin G. Little is one of the preeminent small firms in Fresno. We represent our clients in a variety of matters, including civil rights, employment, personal injury, general civil litigation, family law, bankruptcy, and criminal cases. Our firm also offers excellent mediation services in civil and family law matters. We approach each case with dedication, aiming to protect you and exceed your expectations. Contact us today at 559-342-5800 and visit kevinglittle.com.
Visit Princess and the Pauper, where you'll find everything from new and consigned furniture, lighting and art, a line of candles, French soaps, and mineral paint. Whether your style is old world, modern, or a little bit of everything, you'll find it at Princess and the Pauper, located at the southeast corner of Bullard and West. And now you can visit Princess and the Pauper's online store at princessandthepauper.net.
Shula Davis is your farmer's insurance agent, and she'll help you find the insurance plan that's right for you. Call 559-900-2744 or email sdavis5@farmersagent.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back. It's New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. Anyway, when we went to the break, I was talking about the concept of actually utilizing the power that's available to you in an unconscious way. And I made the statement that we do that all the time, because we do. See, as God expressing as us, as Spirit expressing as us, we're never disconnected. We're always tied in, and the energy that pulses through our whole being that we call life is still God expressing, which means that with every breath that we take, with every beat of our heart, it is the divine energy, the divine love, the divine harmony within us that's making that happen. And we go about life unconsciously. We don't think about our heart beating or the breath we take. And oftentimes we don't think about the movements that we make. You know, we have these great tools that we call hands and eyes and legs and feet, and we move along through the day, and we don't think about the movements. We may be directive of the movements, but we don't think about having to contract and relax certain muscles or focus the eye in a certain way. It happens. It's because we have this great thing that we call a brain that does all this for us. But it's still part of us, and it's still also us within this whole realm of God beingness. So we're tied in very intimate ways, and we utilize this energy constantly from the beginning breath of our life to the last breath of our life. In the physical form, and before that in our spiritual aspect, and after that, because in truth as spiritual beings, we are truly infinite. And we only learn that when we begin to seek the greater truth of who we are. So we grow up, and let's say we have kind of a so-so expectation of life. Some good, some bad. Life is what it is. that's the way we're going to live our life. Because it really is done unto us as we believe. If we believe that life's tough, we're going to have a tough life. If we believe life is hard, we're going to have a hard life. If we believe life is easy, we'll have an easy life. If we believe that life is abundant, we'll have an abundant life. If we believe life is full of love, we're going to have a life full of love. If we believe that love is harsh and is unfair, then that's how we're going to experience life. In other words, we still are the directors, even when we're not aware that we're consciously directing. So the day that we awaken to the fact that we have a role that we can play, and we make that choice, that decision, that we want to step up, we want to get into that role. We want to interact with the divine presence in a more personal way, in a more interactive way. We want to see how God expresses in our life by working through us, and we want to see that as a great deal of goodness in our life. Only problem is, oftentimes we get to that point, within short order we find that we're kind of back to our old habit patterns, our old thought patterns. We see people that get really excited about changing their life, and they begin to fall away. It's because what we believe is still habit. It's a type of habit, but it's still a habit. And we have to break the habits of old beliefs in order to create the new beliefs and replace the old beliefs with those new beliefs. That takes a conscious effort. It takes a commitment. It takes being aware of what we're doing. And any of those things on any given day, at any given point in time, we can be all on board, or things can be very chaotic. But as we make that choice and we commit to that choice and we go back and we work at it, and it is something that we call work. It takes discipline. And discipline is not punishment, but discipline is being able to focus under control and committed circumstances in an organized way to generate a specific outcome. And we do that all the time. When we learned how to walk, when we learned how to ride a bike, when you learned how to drive a car, when you were in school and you learned math, or the skills of your job. You have that capability within you, and you have more capability than that you're not aware of. And oftentimes you have talents far beyond what you've ever utilized because you never had an expectation that you were anything other than average. But nobody's average. There's no such thing as average when it comes to an individualized being. If you understand that God is expressing through each and every one of us, where's the average in God? There isn't. Now, our gifts may be different. Our skills may be different. The things that we have a predilection to, an interest in, may be different than someone else. But if we follow the desires that are true desires of our heart, we often find that, amazingly, things happen, doors open. There's hidden skills that we begin to access within ourselves. And it's the same thing when we begin to make the choice to seek a spiritual life experience. So we decide we want to have a spiritual life experience, and that's not something that we do at the evening on our knees right before we go to bed. Not that that's not important. Prayer work is very important. And how you pray may depend on how you understand prayer. And I'll talk about that probably in a future show, so you can come back and watch it, because there are ways that you can pray that are let's say, more productive in your life than other ways. But you begin to see that there's things that you can do, but when do you do them? You do them all day, and it's not hard. It takes a little work, like I said, but when you begin to look for the divine in everything, even those things that are irritating, the person that cut you off on the freeway, or the child that screamed in the market, or, the dent you got in your car, whatever. The principle is infinite, which means there's no place, no space where God is not. So God is everywhere present. There's a fellow no longer with us, but his name was Joel Goldsmith, and he had a great way of putting it. He said, practice the presence of God in all that you do, all day long. Practice the presence of God. In other words, make your awareness within yourself an awareness of understanding that the divine principle, that God is here now, always, that God is in the air that I breathe, it's in the voice that I'm speaking with, it's in the images that I see, and it's within me doing the things that make me do the things that I do in order to live. God is everywhere present. We practice that. And as we begin to practice that, and we begin to change our way of thinking, like I say, it's a habit. It takes time. Be encouraged. You can do this, and you can go to places that are New Thought places. Whether you get, you can go online. There's a place called newthoughtlibrary.com, and you can find older books, but they're still full of powerful information at that webpage of New Thought pioneers. But you can go to Amazon and you can find New Thought books that are out there if you have the financial resources, and I encourage you to do that. You can find a New Thought center or a church near where you live, or if there's none real near where you live where it's easy access, you can still get in touch with the ministers that are there in those places that can share with you, maybe even help you with learning and incorporating in your life the principles of New Thought that allow you to experience God in a fuller, more consciousness sort of way, and live life at a higher level of experience. We talk about raising our consciousness. We talk about experiencing life at a higher level, and that's not mystical or magic, although we may call it mystical or magic. It's just a matter of application. And you have all the tools within you to make that application and to follow through on it. It takes discipline. It takes commitment. We do it. And as we do it and we begin to see results, and that's the most powerful thing, is as you begin to do it, you become aware of the results that you see unfold in your life. It becomes a self-affirming type of process. Ernest Holmes used to say that which you can prove through the practice of spiritual practices you know to be true. That which you can't prove may or may not be true. A fellow by the name of Emmett Fox once wrote that there is no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. And what both of those men were saying is that you can do things and you'll know that you can do them, and you know they can be done. You will have people that will tell you things can be done, and your first question is, well, have you done it? And if they say no, that doesn't mean that it can't be. It just means that they don't really know that it can be. They're just passing on information. They're not passing on an inner experiential truth. So if you can find a place where you can associate with like-minded people, you can begin to share experiences, and you can share teachings and learnings, and you can celebrate the goodness that you are. You can celebrate the power that you have. You can celebrate the life that you live. And it's such an incredible thing when we stop, take time and do that. And we make a time each day, a practice each day of doing that. And I'm looking at the clock. We're going to have to take our last break. And I'm going to talk about taking time each day when we come back. So this is our last break. We'll see you on the back side of this.
Whether you're looking for a place to rent or you have a property you would like to rent out, call the experts at Real Property Management Platinum at 559-324-9400 and visit rpmfresno.com. Beverly Patterson is your independent Senegence distributor. If you're looking for lipstick that won't budge for up to 18 hours or any other long-lasting beauty supplies, contact Beverly at 559-360-7709 or visit Senegence.com/Beverly. Are you tired of being turned down because of your credit? Recovery Credit Repair can help you permanently remove your negative credit and improve your FICO score. Call 559-372-2823 or visit recoverycreditrepair.com. Trying to sell a home or property? Call real estate agent Melanie Littlefield. Melanie produces buyers, not expired listings. And if you're looking to buy a home, Melanie is the agent for you. Contact real estate agent Melanie Littlefield at 559-719-7250 or email melaniec21av@aol.com. The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find The Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today. Are you having financial troubles and are considering your options? Before filing for bankruptcy, call Katerina Benitez at Benitez Law Firm, PC, 559-472-7337. Come learn how to be a better author at the Christian Writers Seminar at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church on Saturday, February 10th, 2018. Fresno Rescue Mission's Rescue the Children program is a protected, secure environment providing emergency and long-term services to women at risk, abused, homeless, previously incarcerated, and women with children. The community provides women and their children a place to get away from destructive lifestyles, offering a place to heal, learn, and grow. Give to the Fresno Rescue Mission today.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son, Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010, and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, the Reverend Steve Walling, and I've had a lot of fun with this today, and I hope you've enjoyed it up to this point. So in this last segment, I wanted to discuss this idea of taking special time. Now, for me, and this is my own personal practice, I have two times of each day that's very, very sacred to me. And that's when I first get up in the morning and then right before I go to bed at night. And the reason why those are very important to me is because I have an understanding that the way the mind, the brain works, when we first awaken in the morning, that first hour is critical as to how we set up our day. We can make a bad day great, or a day that we expect to be bad, or had foreseen to be bad, make it a great day by just getting up in the morning and intending to make the best of everything, and go through whether it's prayer or meditation, however you start your day out with your spiritual practice. But you can do this. Now, I take time in the morning, and I do my spiritual prayer work. I go through my spiritual goals for each day, and I go through my affirmations for each day. And the affirmations, I'll take time midday to go through those again. But then at the end of the day, right before I go to bed, I review back over the day, and I find a space within myself of gratitude for everything that's unfolded in the day. Everything, regardless of what it is. There's something there to be gained from, there's a lesson to be learned, and there's something to be grateful for. God is everywhere present and in everything. And as we focus within ourselves in this attitude of gratitude, we open ourselves up for greater good coming into our life. So I take time for that. Again, I do my evening prayer work, and I set my goals for the next day. And I'll have the whole night as I sleep for my mind to ponder those things and work on them. It's a powerful tool for creating a spiritual life discipline. And if you just start with that, you'll be surprised how things unfold. You'll be taking time for reading things before you go to bed, things to contemplate on, things to touch your heart, spiritual things that help you unfold your own self in a greater spiritual way. You know, we can achieve, I wrote this down, we can achieve the unfoldment of our own divinity. And we do this by a radical change within ourselves in consciousness. And the only way that we can create that radical change in consciousness is to do it ourselves. And, you know, it's interesting. People say, well, I'll know when I feel like doing it. I want to do it, but I don't feel like doing it right now. Truth be told, if you wait till you feel like doing it, you probably won't ever do it, because your feelings are a representation of those underlying beliefs you have, you know, those things that you habitually hold as truth within your subconscious mind. And unless something really radical happens to make you change that way, you probably won't. But if you decide that you want to take a spiritual journey, if you want to find a greater truth, or find a relationship with that greater truth, or find to open a door of understanding the reality of a greater truth, you have to make the decision to do it. And then you follow that decision up with action. And that is a spiritual action in and of itself, whether you realize it or not. You know, some people think spirituality is this mystical thing that is reserved only for spiritual people. But we're all spiritual beings. And it's when we come to our realization of the truth of who we are that we begin to realize everything we do on some level has a spiritual component, whether it be for us or whether it not be for us. Having the ability to choose and to make choices that are life-affirming, that are spiritually affirming within our life, the understanding that the principle of God and good is there, and bringing ourselves in consciousness, in harmony with that principle. It's a very powerful thing. Here in the Fresno area, we have several New Thought centers or churches. You can look them up in the phone book, or you can go online. Phone book shows you how old I am. You can Google them nowadays. It's probably a better way to do it. Religious Science, New Thought, Unity, and they'll show up. Of course, like I said in the show, we're located at 1470 North Van Ness at the Fresno Soap Company on Sundays for our Sunday celebration service, and we invite you to be there. But if you live in another part of Fresno, there's something probably closer to you if that's if distance is important. I don't have the only hold on what is. I'm a teacher, and there are other teachers. And you need to find someone that you can make that connection within yourself. It's not for you to come and sit and just get knowledge between your ears. It's for you to come and begin to start out on that journey, that journey of 1,000 miles that starts with that first step. But the key is not taking the first step. It's easy to take that first step. It's taking the second step when you realize that you've got so far to go. And if that's how you look at it, you'll probably self-defeat. But if you take that second step and realize that you have gained that much from where you started, and the third step is a gain of even further, and although you keep the end point out there, you don't make the measurement between here and out there. You see the value of here from where you have been. And you begin to see your own growth, and you begin to see the good unfold in your life. It's really amazing. You can find us on Facebook at the Spiritual Awareness Center. You can find me, Steve Walling. I'm on Facebook. I have a page. You can find New Thought Talk with Rev Steve on Facebook. We have a page for that. Our webpage is currently, it's up, but it's defunct. We're in the process of getting new hosting and designing the page. So if you want to get a hold of us, you can either email us at madeirasac@gmail.com, or you can message me through one of the Facebook pages, and I do respond. If you have a prayer request, I'm more than happy to work with you on your prayer request. Prayer treatment's a powerful tool in our day-to-day life, and I encourage you to seek that out, whether it be through me or somebody else. It's good, and it's good for you. And, of course, you can always get a hold of me and find out how you can donate or tithe to our ministry. And we always are looking for things to help support our ministry because, life is what it is, and everything that comes in, and I thank those people that do gift us, we put to good use so that we can spread this word so that other people can experience it. Hope you enjoyed the show today. I'll see you next time I'm back. And as you go through the week, know that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, the presence of God watches over you. Truly, wherever you are, God is there. Have a great week. I'll see you when I come back. Bye.
This segment is brought to you by Mike Briggs Properties. The recession's over. It's now safe to sell your home. Call Mike Briggs Properties.
We've been thinking about this for a while on how we can really match up economic development and workforce development.
In order to have successful businesses, the businesses needed a successful workforce. And so the EDC and the DSS partnered together to put together training programs that are tailored to specific industries.
We need to have our clients be private sector focused, private sector ready, and better to learn that from the private sector than from the government.
This was a different idea, and this intrigued me. I've got 3 guys out in the field working, no problem at all with them, very good kids. I enjoy hiring people that need a second chance. The employees that work for us are our most important asset. That's why I have to have good employees. We need to all work together and try to figure out on how to do this, and that's why I like the program.
I'm Greg Steen, your host for the Truth for Seniors show. Glad you're joining us today and coming to you from Central Valley Talk in the heart of Fresno. So every Wednesday at 2 you can find us, and we'll be here giving you the most up-to-date and accurate information possible, bringing you experts, as we've promised, from lots of different fields related to seniors, senior needs, the caregiver needs, and everything that goes with that. So if you're looking for the right information and timely information, this is the place to be.
Choose your phone, not your carrier, with Wireless Connection Merced, located at 3144 G Street, Suite 145 in Merced, California. Wireless Connection sells new and used phones, offers cell phone repair, and will unlock phones from any carrier. Call 209-626-5554 or visit wirelessconnectionmerced.com.
Here at Central Valley Talk, we've chosen Select Business Systems to provide for our copy, print, and scanning needs. We used to think it was cheaper to purchase our own toner and maintain our own office equipment. But now, with the expertise and experience of Select Business Systems, our office workflow is running at peak performance, saving our company time and money. They've truly set us up with our new Sharp multifunction copier, streamlining our office with the press of a button. To find out how you can improve your office technology, call Select Business Systems at 446-0123 or visit their website at selectsharp.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com